They told you to save your money and you listened. You cut back on takeout, you skipped the big trips, you even built a little cushion in your savings account. You did what you were told and yet it still feels like you're falling behind. You were taught how to earn money and not grow it. But guess what? You're not alone and you're one mindset shift away from changing your life. If you don't make a plan, one will be made for you. And if you're watching this, chances are you've tried to be smart with your money. You've sacrificed short-term fun, you've been the responsible one, but you've realized that nobody gets rich off budgeting harder. Here's the problem. Saving money is safe, but it's actually losing you money. And in today's economy, ever so quickly. Now, I'm not saying that saving is a bad thing. Of course, saving your money is a good thing, but saving itself is not a strategy. It's only step one. And the solution, this is the part they don't teach you. Your money needs a job. It's what you do with the saved up money that impacts the outcome. Just letting it sit is like hiring an employee for them to just nap in the break room all day. You need to put that money to work or else you're slowly losing it. So in this video, I'll be teaching you the 3 things that are destroying your financial gains that they do not teach you in schools, and exactly what to do instead. But first, why should you listen to me? I used to be a financial advisor at one of the big banks here in Canada. I've sat across the table from countless people who have been doing everything right, been doing everything that they were told to do, and yet they still feel like they can't get ahead. And now I'm a real estate agent in Eastern Ontario, and I've helped people build wealth, not just by saving, but by thinking strategically. And I've made these mistakes too. I know how it feels to have money in the bank, but no actual freedom. What I'm going to show you today is the mindset shift, the piece of advice that they don't mention when they tell you to save your money. And real quick, before we jump in, if you like this type of content and wish to see more, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it, and I guarantee a great return on investment. Let's start with something that's eating away at your savings every single day, and most people don't even realize it or even know what it is. Inflation. What is inflation? Well, in simple terms, inflation is the rate at which prices increase over time. The official way we measure this is through the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. And that's just a fancy way of saying, let's take a big basket of everyday things like food, shelter, clothing, furniture, transportation, and track how much more expensive that basket gets every single year. Why do prices go up? A very basic question with very complex answers. But let's keep it simple here. Prices go up when demand exceeds supply. And demand goes way up when governments start printing more money. Why? Because now you have more money in the economy chasing the same amount of goods and services. Businesses catch on, they raise their prices, and now your money has less purchasing power. That's inflation. So is inflation bad? Technically, that's a subjective question, but let's be honest, for most, it's brutal. Inflation is basically a tax on the lower and middle class. I mean, think about it. If you're someone who only buys things, you have nothing to sell, and you don't own any appreciating assets, then you're losing purchasing power year after year. And on the other hand, people who have real estate, stocks, and businesses, they're often benefiting from inflation. Prices go up, their assets go up, their rents go up, their portfolio goes up. So you can see why some people secretly love inflation. For them, it's not a punishment, it's a profit. And that's what makes it so cruel. The people who feel it the most are the ones with least protection. Inflation does not show up alone. It brings interest rates with it. If you've seen my most recent reel, you've probably heard me say, where there's rising inflation, there will be rising interest rates. Why? Because interest rates are the government's way of trying to slow inflation down. But here's the problem. When rates go up, it becomes harder for regular people to get approved for things like mortgages or personal loans. And who are the people that rely the most on financing? The lower and middle class. Meanwhile, higher interest rates actually benefits the wealthy because now they're earning higher yields on their investments. But wait, why would the government print money if they know that it leads to inflation? Right? Without getting too political about it, governments print money when they want to spend, but they don't have the budget and they don't want to increase taxes. So instead of cutting elsewhere, they just print. It's easy and the cost gets passed down to you in the form of inflation. You see, most people are not even aware of this, which is probably another reason why the governments are okay with doing this. Let's bring it back to the topic of this video. What does this have to do with your savings? What happens when you save money but don't do anything with it? Let's say you save $10,000. Congratulations. But now you let it sit in a savings account, or worse, your checkings account, earning nothing. $10,000 today has the purchasing power of $10,000 today. Meanwhile, if inflation runs at 3.5% over the next year, for example, that same $10,000 today will have the purchasing power of just $9,661 next year. It'll still show up as $10,000 in your account, but it won't have the same purchasing power then as it does today. And if you keep that up year after year, you're slowly bleeding out. You didn't spend a single dollar and you still lost money. Inflation is real and it's cruel and it's not waiting for you to catch up. So what should you do instead? Like I said, your money needs a job. It should be working for you. It shouldn't just be sitting around losing value. Here are a few examples of where people park their savings to fight back against inflation. And don't worry, we'll cover them more in depth later in this video. Mutual funds, a collection of stocks or bonds managed by a professional. It's easy to start, but management fees can eat into your returns. Exchange traded funds or ETFs. They're similar to mutual funds, but much lower management fees and traded like stocks. Great for beginners and long-term investors. Locked in guaranteed income certificate or locked in GIC. Guaranteed return, zero risk, but your money is locked away for the term and usually earns below inflation. Market linked GICs. Guaranteed or variable return depending on your choice. Zero risk, tied to the market but with a safety net. You don't lose money, but the returns are capped. Real estate, tangible asset that can grow in value and generate income, especially powerful when leveraging. Crypto or foreign exchange, high risk, high reward, volatile markets that require real strategy and emotional discipline. If you go to a bank and ask where you should invest your money, they're probably going to recommend either a GIC or mutual fund depending on your needs. They'll make you fill out an investor profile, which you can also just do online. But if you're more comfortable in self-direct investing, I would recommend taking a look at ETFs. When choosing your investment, try to think about what will be bigger in 5 to 10 years than it is today. Usually technology and AI are great starting points, especially in 2025. All right, that was part one, inflation. Now let's dive deeper into your investment choice. This is where most people get stuck. You saved your money, you did the right thing. Now you put it into a high interest savings account because you probably feel like doing nothing with it is hurting you. If your account earns less than inflation, you're still losing money, just more slowly. Why can't banks just give you more interest? That'd be great, right? But there's one major factor that affects the amount of interest that your account earns. Can you access the money at any time? If the answer is yes, then your returns will be low. It's that simple. When I was an advisor, I heard this all the time. I want an investment that is high earning, risk-free, and that I can cash out at any time. That sounds great, right? But here's the thing. It doesn't exist. Could you imagine if a bank gave you a high earning, risk-free, that you can cash out at any time investment? How could they even make money? So it's important to understand how banks make their money. One way banks make their money is by mastering the gap that they pay you and then charge somebody else for that same money. For example, let's say today you buy a 3-year GIC from the bank. They'll offer you a nice, safe 2.65% per year. On that same day, the bank is giving someone else a 3-year fixed mortgage term at 4.59%. So they just made a 1.94 profit per year using your money. And they do that all day, every day with millions of dollars. And the less you know, the more they profit. Now imagine you say, well, I want to keep my money open just in case. The bank thinks, cool, but we can't count on using that money for a loan because you might cash out tomorrow. Who knows? So what do? They give you next to nothing. If you want to keep that account open, feel free, but you're not going to get much out of it. Most, if not all, open savings accounts are earning less than 1% per year. And sometimes they do these promos where it's like, we're paying 3.5%, but read the fine print because I guarantee you it only lasts about 2 months. And with inflation being at 3%, well, you're falling behind. You can only have 2 of these 3 things: open access, risk-free, or high return. You want open and risk-free? Say goodbye to growth. You want open and return? You're taking on a risk. You want risk-free and high return? And you'll have to lock it in. So what should you do? First of all, ask yourself a better question. What is the goal for this money? Is it a down payment for a home in 2 years? Is it a trip next summer? Is it retirement in 30 years? If it's a short-term goal, like 1 to 3 years, Keep your money in a capital guarantee investment. You don't want to lose that money in a market downturn. But if it's a long-term goal, like 5+ years or so, keeping it in a savings account is the worst thing that you can do. That's when it's time to start looking into index funds, ETFs, or mutual funds, market-linked GICs, or other diversified investments. Don't just pick an investment because it feels safe. Make sure it actually fits your timeline and your goals. Now let's move to the third and maybe most overlooked thing that's eating away at your wealth. Taxes. If you don't understand how taxes work, you're building wealth for the government, not yourself. When talking about investments, there's two types of taxes we have to cover. Let's start with the most basic and most painful one. Interest. If you earn interest income, it gets taxed at your marginal tax rate, meaning your highest tax rate. And let's just say you're in a 35% tax bracket, you're sharing $3,500 with the government. And then there's capital gains. Better, but still a tax. If you're investing in things like stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, or real estate, and they go up in value, that's considered a capital gain. Here's the good news. You're only taxed on 50% of the gain upon disposal or selling of the capital investment. It's 50% for now, but the government has tried to make it 2/3% for amounts above $250,000, but they have since deferred it to January 1st, 2026. Anyway, to explain capital gains, if you make $10,000 on an investment, only $5,000 gets added to your taxable income as taxable capital gains. If you're in that same 35% tax bracket, you pay tax on that $5,000, not the $10,000, which is only $1,750 now, as opposed to $3,500. So your tax bill is way less than interest income, but it's still significant. How to avoid losing your hard-earned investment income to taxes. That's the power of tax-sheltered accounts. Not all accounts are taxed the same way. This is where smart money separates itself. In Canada, you've got a few powerful tools. The tax-free savings account, or TFSA, the first home savings account, or FHSA, and the registered retirement savings plan, or the RRSP. First up, TFSA. The name is a little misleading because you can hold on to more than just savings inside of a tax-free savings account. Think stocks, ETFs, mutual funds, GICs, bonds. And the best part is your money grows tax-free forever. Let's say you invest $10,000 today and you turn that into $20,000. Now you want to withdraw out of your TFSA. Guess what? You pay no tax. Not today, not ever. That's incredibly powerful. But there's a cap. Your contribution room is limited each year and it's announced every January. However, if you never contributed before, your lifetime limit starts from the year that you turned 18. So for example, if you were born in 1995, you turned 18 in 2013. So your total limit today is $82,000. That is a lot of room. If you use it right. You have to keep in mind that if you invest $10,000 and it drops to $1,000 and you withdraw that $1,000, you've permanently lost that $9,000 of contribution room. The contrary is also true. If your $10,000 grows to $20,000 and you withdraw it, you've now permanently gained a $10,000 of future contribution room. So use this account wisely. For general investing, TFSA should be your default. There is no better account to invest money tax-free. Next up, we have the FHSA. Now, the FHSA is a newer account. It's designed specifically to help first-time homebuyers. So if that's your goal, it's a no-brainer. You can contribute up to $8,000 per year to a maximum of $40,000 total. And here's what makes it special. Your contributions are tax deductible, just like the RRSP. Your growth is tax-free, just like in the TFSA. And when you use it to buy your first home, your withdrawals are also tax-free. So let's break down what tax deductible actually means. If you're a salaried employee, then your employer is already deducting a portion for your income taxes off every paycheck. So that way, come to tax season, there should be no surprises. Now, if you contribute $8,000 to your FHSA, for that year, your taxable income reduces by $8,000. Now you've already paid all your taxes because your employer is taking it off every paycheck, and you're now owed a refund on the income tax portion of your contribution. Depending on your tax bracket, you could expect a refund of about $2,000. That's $2,000 cash just for depositing into the account. I mean, if you're a first-time buyer, you're going to be saving up your down payment somewhere. Make sure it's in the FHSA. You only get to use this account once, and that's before you buy your first house. Now, there's an exemption if you haven't owned in the last 5 years, but if you don't own a house, then you're eligible and you're saving up for a down payment, use this account. It's that simple. Next up, RRSP. The RRSP is built for retirement with other added features. Your contributions are tax deductible, again, like in the FHSA, but your investment grows tax deferred, meaning that you only pay taxes when you take money out of the account. And ideally, that's when you're retired and in a lower tax bracket. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, what's the point? Because I pay taxes on it later anyway. But let me ask you something. Are you in a higher tax bracket now or at retirement? That's the difference. When you're contributing to your RRSP, you're most likely in a higher tax rate because you are employed. Now, when you're at retirement, usually you're unemployed, so you're making less money. So when you go to take that money out at retirement, you will now be taxed at a lower rate than the rate that you saved initially. So while it's not tax-free, it's definitely tax smart, especially if you're making a lot more money now and you want to save money on taxes. This is the way to go. Now, here's a bonus feature that the RRSP has. It's called the Homebuyers Plan, where you can withdraw up to $60,000 from your RRSP to buy your first home, but you do need to pay it back within 15 years or else it counts as a withdrawal, which is considered taxable income. So which one should you use between the FHSA and the RRSP? Well, there's 3 things I would say. 1, start with the FHSA because once you buy a home, you're no longer eligible. So use it. 2, use the RRSP strategically. You'll likely earn more later in your life. So if you still have room in your FHSA, use it first. Save the contribution room in your RRSP for when you really need a tax break. And 3, if you're not sure what you're doing tax-wise yet, then don't burn your RRSP contribution room too early. You're going to regret it later on. Now, what happens if you skip all those and just invest in a regular non-registered account? Well, it's simple. Every dollar you earn, interest, dividends, capital gains, it's all taxable. There's no protection, no deferrals, no breaks. And depending how active your investments are, you could be triggering taxes every single year. And that's why all experienced investors are using tax sheltered accounts first before touching non-registered accounts. Key things to remember: interest income is fully taxed. Capital gains are only half taxed. And inside a TFSA or FHSA, they are not taxed at all. The investments you choose matter, but where you hold these investments matter just as much. So yeah, saving your money is smart. And if you have some money saved up, then good for you because you're ahead of most people. But please don't stop there. Saving is only step 1. Step 2 is giving your money a job. Don't just let your money sit and watch inflation, poor investment decisions, and taxes just eat at it. And the truth is, no one's coming to explain this stuff to you. Not schools, not the banks, and definitely not the governments. So if you want to actually build wealth and not just save money, you need to start thinking longer, smarter, and strategically. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to stop doing what everyone else is doing. If this helped open your eyes or gave you something to think about, then stick around because I'm here to stay. I've got a ton more videos coming, so be sure you hit that like and subscribe button to be notified when the next video comes out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.